of you a very, very happy Teachers' Day. As we all know that the 5th September, we are celebrating a Teachers' Day in commemoration of the birthday of our second President of India, Radhakrishnan. So we know that while we are celebrating 5th September, though the World Teachers' Day is 5th October, but here in India, as we know that in commemoration, in remembrance of the birthday of our second President of India. Why we are celebrating on 5th September, I think we all know that this is just because of that he is thinking in such a way that the teachers are the minds of a country. He has spoken out the quotation, and then from that on, so we are celebrating 5th September as a Teacher Day. Once again, all the participants, I wish a very, very happy Teachers' Day. So today's program will be, as we have seen in the program, so it will be of a kind of two sessions. The first session will be more or less within the university, as so we'll be celebrating, and then we have a panels of speakers like Professor Margaret L. Pachuo, who is from English department. She'll be talking about the role and responsibility of the teachers, and our Mizoram University Student Council President, this Xavier Kiente, so he will also speak out about whatever his experience with the teachers or whatever he likes. And then we have Gabriel Elson Hima from our research scholars. He will also speak out on this occasion. And then with that, so we'll end up our first session. So that will be continue with the in continuation of the celebration of the Teachers' Day with this NUP webinar. So we'll be having a guest speaker from two vice chancellors. One is our Professor R.P. Tiwari, Vice Chancellor, now Central University of Punjab, and another Vice Chancellor from Tripura University, Professor Appraising. So they will be speaking NEP 2020, the teacher's perspective. So this webinar will keep on going on, but we were divided into two sessions. Like the first will be more or less for this university. So once again, I welcome all the participants. So let me now invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor K.R.S. Sambasivarao, to address this Teachers' Day celebration in Mizoram University. Sir, please, this is your time.
Good afternoon, everyone. I invite all my respected faculty of Mizoram University and Pachunga campus for this happy occasion, a webinar being organized on the occasion of Teachers' Day. It was really a wonderful day that all our teachers has to celebrate this occasion, because of the teachers, the university is a temple of learning. Because of the students, actually the university is mainly meant for students' service, and the teachers are the main stakeholders of a temple of learning. And the non-teachers are the supporting staff of the students and teachers. So all these three will work together, and they work for the development of the university and also for the welfare of the students. This day actually being celebrated because the first President of India, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan ji, is a teacher, basically. So as working as a teacher, he became the President of India. So the teacher becoming the President of India is an occasion which has to be remembered by everyone. And teachers actually they can be a model for a whole country, and also they can be model for whole society and whole fraternity of the country. They will be guided by the proper person. This is what actually, and similarly, Abdul Kalam ji also has been a teacher and a scientist, and he has become the president of India in the later stages. So the teachers has got a tremendous role and in leading the society, and they will be almost guiding the society through various experiences as a teacher. And a teacher always a motivator for the whole society. And the teacher will be always helping uh, the society to put them in a proper way and also direct them in a proper way. And the university in particular, the University of Mizoram actually has been glorified in the recent past because of the hard work of our teachers. And the teachers are the guiding force for the students of our university, and also doing very good, tremendous research work and getting great laurels to our university. And in the recent past, our university has been galloped into 67th All India rank of among the universities, and also among the whole institutions. More than 3,000 institutions has completed in ranking framework, including IITs, NITs, engineering colleges, pharmacy institutions, and many universities. Almost 3,000 institutions has completed in that NIRF ranking, in which we are very proud to say that out of 3,000 institutes, Mizoram University stood as 100th among all the 3,000 institutes. And it has galloped from 100 to 150 rank earlier, 2 years. Now it has come to 100 rank below. And among the universities of 900 universities, it is earlier 86, and now it has galloped into 67th rank among the universities. So we are all proud of the hard work of our teachers and guiding the university in different forms. And we are the people actually working for the welfare of the students. The students have to be trained, particularly in this pandemic situation. The students are in a different depressive mood because they are not able to attend the classes, and they are worried about the future of them, and they are not, whether their degrees are actually going to be completed or not. This kind of situation is been prevailing in the last 6 months. But so very pertinent to say here, our teachers are the model in the whole world, whole country. Actually, they are this is one of the first university in whole India that completed easy examinations very successfully in a blended mode, offline and online. And also, is one of the university which all private college, all affiliated colleges has started easy examinations very successfully in the blended mode of examination. And we are all our final year students are being promoted for the completion of their degrees and also post graduation, and also the intermediate semesters are being promoted to next semester, and we have completed the instruction also. We have started the instruction, and the next batch admissions also we have started. So we are very proud to say that this is the only university which has crossed many milestones in the recent past. And it is definitely to mention here because of the hard work of our teachers. And the university was growing further, and I hope in the next coming 2 years, this university will grow further with the hard work and sincerity and dedication of our teachers. The both Mizoram University main campus and Pachinga campus both will be going further for improvement of the university ranking and glorifying the image of the university in the whole country. And already we are on the way, and we will definitely prove that. And I wish all the teachers very heartily and salute them for their hard work and dedication for the development of the university. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for highlighting the achievement of the university, which is coming up from the teachers as well as the non-teachers and all the staffs who are working so excessively in the university. Thank you so much, sir. And then may I now invite our Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor J.K. Patnaik, to have a word of felicitation of the teachers in this very happy occasion of the Teachers' Day. Sir, you please take your time. Professor J.K. Patnaik, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Saab, Honorable Vice Chancellor, the today's speakers on the occasion, Madam Pachau, Gabriel, and Javier. I'm really delighted to be part of this program because being a teacher, it is our onerous duty to celebrate Teachers' Day with much enthusiasm and seriousness. You have heard our Vice Chancellor speaking about the role of teacher in bringing glory to the university. Professor Radhakrishnan, Professor Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan was a teacher. The teacher par excellence he was. He studied in Christ College, but became professor in Presidency College. He did not get seat in Christ College, Presidency College, but he became a professor in Presidency College. Then he became professor in Calcutta University, then Vice Chancellor. One thing, actually, I'm not going to talk about Radhakrishnan. One thing that is amazing about Radhakrishnan is that he had a tremendous memory power. He had mastered the ancient scriptures, the Vedas, and his book, Hindu View of Life, is a compendium for everybody to understand the essence of Hinduism. And when he was in Oxford as a professor, visiting professor, I'm sure other panelists would not deal these things, that's why I'm telling. I'm not intruding into their domain. You will not believe people will be waiting for Professor Radhakrishnan to listen to his lectures. Such was his oratory, such was his depth of understanding. So in commemoration of his birthday, while other leaders had their own way of celebrating, Radhakrishnan wanted to celebrate the contribution of teachers as the builders of the nation. Vice Chancellor touched on that aspect, that teachers are the backbone of the country. Who is the teacher? That is a very important thing. And somebody who identifies himself as a teacher has got enormous responsibility on his shoulders. Because the teacher, it is the teacher who guides not only the students, but also the entire society. And the direction is provided by the teacher. And by celebrating the Teachers' Day, being the teachers, we are accepting the role and responsibility of providing the direction and guidance to our students, not only the students in Mizoram University, but also for the state of Mizoram, as well as for the nation at large. This is an onerous task, and we have to accept it. And I hope this is a pleasant task also. And most of us should accept it gleefully and perform our duties and a role as a responsible teacher. I would like to stop here because the panelists, the speakers will speak, and I'll be eagerly waiting to listen to them and their viewpoints and their understanding about, one of them is a teacher, the other two are students. So let us listen to them, and I stop here. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. And now let us hear from the student first. Uh, just going to the main speaker like Professor Margaret, I think it may be better to go to hear from the student
Yes, yes,
first. Let me
definitely.
now invite our this MZU Student Council President, Mr. Xavier Kiemte. So whatever, maybe he may highlighted the experience with the teachers, or I don't know. Now, Xavier, so this is your time, please come forward.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. A very good afternoon to everyone. Today, I am honored that I have been given this opportunity to express our gratitude and appreciation to our wonderful and respected teachers on behalf of the students of Mizoram University on this auspicious occasion. I will not take too much time so that Madam Margaret and my friend Gabrielle could have much more time. Uh, we gathered here today to celebrate Teachers' Day online. And I would like to first thank our teachers who have been working very hard to teach us online because of this pandemic. This year, our respect for our teachers has grown immensely. It has been challenging for all of us, but because of our teachers' dedication and hard work, we were able to get our education. It is said that our teachers are the pillars of our country. Their guidance has shaped students to become better human beings. They are the reason behind the success of a student. Education or educating others is one of the greatest and most demanding jobs. Teaching is the greatest act of optimism. A teacher is not necessarily present in our classrooms. Everyone around us can teach us something. A teacher can be a farmer, a friend, a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, or the wise uncle that lived next door. And today is a day to honor all of them. Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Our teachers today are responsible in changing the world, and it is because of them that today our world is what it is. It is not perfect, but it could be so much worse if it weren't for them. As I have mentioned, due to this pandemic, we had to resort to online classes. And we students have faced a lot of problems. But because of our teachers' understanding and their never-ending support, that not only we got our education, but finish our examination. This shows the dedication and the determination of our teachers towards the welfare of students. And I believe that this is a great example of what a good teacher is. Our teachers have inspired us, and we are eternally grateful to all of them. Let me share my experience with some of my teachers, not only in our campus, but throughout my students' life. I had a very difficult time during my childhood. I wasn't able to read and write properly for a very long time. And as soon as my teachers and my family had come to know that they were committed to teach me how to read and write, I was already in the sixth standard. I wasn't able to read not only read or write my name, and I wasn't able to even write my own name. And my teachers and my family, they took the time to teach me to do that. So, and by the end of sixth standard, I was able to read and write properly. And because of that, today I am the person who today because of that, I am the person who I am today. And I am very grateful. And that is one of the best experience that I have had with a teacher. And also, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor K.R.S. Sambasivarao, for his able leadership and guidance throughout this challenging time. The students of Mizoram University are very grateful to have a hardworking Vice Chancellor. And let me conclude by wishing all our teachers a very happy Teachers' Day, and that we are very fortunate to have and had such magnificent teachers in our life. Our teachers, our heroes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Xavier, for your beautiful speech. And as a teachers, we are really thankful for hearing such kind of appreciation from the student side. Thank you so much, Xavier. And now let me keep on going to these our scholars, Gabriel. Let us give him a time to express his view on this very Teachers' Day. Please, Gabriel, take your time, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please go ahead.
Okay. First of all, a very warm good afternoon to all the members of the online seminar, and then especially to our professors, and then our VC, our moderator, and my fellow speakers who are here with us. And I won't be taking much time as we still have a lot of one more speaker left to have her say. So let me just start it up. I'll be giving a short speech based on my experience. Well, as a part of our life, we have all been in the stage of being a student at one point of a time. We have encountered and experienced all type of teachers with different personalities and characters. As a student, we have had different desire to have a perfect teacher who would understand us and our need from a teacher. Well, based on what we have been through since our past life, and being a student, my speech will be on that. And well, based on that, my short speech is on my expectation of a good teacher. Teachers have the very important responsibility of shaping the life of young, impressionable children. With this responsibility comes great pride and joy. Therefore, all teachers should strive for what can be considered to be a good teacher. The previous speaker, our SC president, has just mentioned earlier that a teacher is not confined within the academics. A teacher is someone who can be outside the realms of academics. So it can be any realms of part of life, of a walk of life, and all of them have to be a good teacher. I believe that we need to have some kind of quality and characteristics to be a good teacher. Let me just give my own personal definition of what we can consider as a good teacher. A good teacher can be defined as someone who always pushes a student to have the will and desire to do their best, while at the same time trying to make learning interesting as well as creative. But then we also have to consider that not every child learns in the same way, nor are they interested in the same things. To be a good teacher, one should possess good qualities, like I've mentioned earlier, a very good quality, a character to thrive and make the best of his and her ability as a teacher. Such qualities which I have listed out, and those qualities I have made it short, and then I have listed out into five different qualities which I believe that a good teacher should acquire or should have within itself. First quality is good teachers should be strong communicator. The reason why they should be a strong communicators, because when it comes to effective teaching, strong communication skills are a must. By communicating with students at the beginning of every lesson, the teachers should encourage the discussion on how education applies to their favorite hobbies, sports, and future careers. This helps students approach the subject in more enjoyable way that better support their learning, and it brings a lot of interest within the students and the child to learn more. Then the second characteristics or a good quality about a teacher is a teacher should also be a good listener. He should listen well. He or she should listen well. Well, uh, great communication does not stop when the teacher is done talking. It should be from both the side. Listening well is one of the most important skill needed to be a teacher. If an educator can truly hear a student, they can learn how to reach them where they are. This will open the door for them to receive and learn the lesson that is being taught. Then the third quality which I want from my teacher is the quality to be adaptable. Why a teacher should be adaptable? Well, effective teachers need to be able to work in a constantly evolving environment and adjusting themselves and a teaching method based on the age of their students, the resources available, and changing curriculum practices and requirements. We all know that the world is changing very fast. A lot of development have been coming, and new generations are far more advanced than the present. I hope it won't be an offensive word, but then comparing to the present teachers, the new generations are much more advanced in technologies. So we need to adapt, the teachers need to adapt themselves so that they can cope up with the present generations of students, so that they can both learn from the teachers as well as from the students. The fourth quality and the character of a teacher is to have patience. No matter what grade level of education a teacher is teaching, it can be a primary school, it can be a secondary school or college level or an university. A good teacher can be categorized as the level of his patience with his students. A person's patience will be tested while working as an educator. Whether you are managing a classroom behavior, working with a college, colleagues with different views, or communicating students' issues or progress with parents. Patience is one of the most important skills to practice as a teacher. And then the last quality which I expect from a good teacher is a teachers are a lifelong learners. Someone have said that learning doesn't end. As long as we grow old, the more we grow old, learning keeps on continuing till our very last breath. So one of the most important characteristics or a quality of a good teacher is a lifelong learner. One of the key skills needed to be a good teacher is a dedication to continue education and a love of learning. Whether we are learning more about our subject, other subject, learning new methods of communication, or even exploring how to bring more technology into the classroom. Continuing to expand our knowledge is the key, is the main fundamental key to expanding that of our students. Those are the 5 qualities which students, which I myself has expected from a teacher. And like our previous speaker have mentioned, that during this pandemic, during this lockdown period, how the faculty members, how the professors, how the staff members have stood with these students in all the needs and in all they have provided all the helps which is needed by the students. So on behalf of the students and as well as the research scholars, I thank to all the faculty members, and I wish each and every faculty members, teachers within the University of Mizoram University, MZU, the state and the nation, a very happy Teachers' Day. And I would like to conclude my speech with a short quotation by a very renowned person, Albert Einstein. He said, "It is a supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creation, expression, and knowledge." Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much, Gabriel. So your expectation of the teachers is really highlighted over here. And not only that, so Xavier is also mentioning about appreciating the teachers in the midst of this, during this pandemic situation. So knowing that the appreciation from the students and knowing the expectation of students from the teacher's side, I think we may now have our speaker, Professor Margaret L. Pachuo, to have a response, or so knowing what the student expectation to be a good teacher is like. So she may highlight the responsibility or the whatever she likes. So let us hear from Professor Margaret L. Pachuo. Madam, please, yeah, time is given to you.
Thank you, sir. I shall begin straight away. Respected Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Registrar, my fellow teachers, students, and members of this august gathering. On behalf of the organizers of this program, I take this opportunity to wish each and every one of us a very happy and blessed Teachers' Day. On this occasion, as teachers, we also take the opportunity to wish the teachers that have taught us, the stalwarts of education who have endowed us with knowledge, believed in us, and made us pursue our dreams. To all the teachers who have been a part of our fruitful academic journey in life, we cannot thank you enough for the role that you have played in our lives. We are here today because of you, and you have been instrumental in making us to be what we are. On this auspicious day, we pay our utmost respect, first and foremost, to Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, an academician who went on to become the second President of India. When Dr. Radhakrishnan became the President of India, some of his students and friends requested him to allow them to celebrate his birthday on 5th September. He replied, "Instead of celebrating my birthday, it would be my proud privilege if September 5th is observed as Teachers' Day." Since 1962, his birthday has been celebrated in India as Teachers' Day on 5th September every year. Dr. Radhakrishnan believed that teachers should be the best minds in the country. He was one of the great philosophers that our country had seen and who bridged the gap between home school of thought and Western ideologies. On this day, students honor their teachers all over the country and seek their blessings. Dr. Radhakrishnan had denoted, true teachers are those who help us think for ourselves. With that aspect in mind, on this occasion, even as we celebrate Teachers' Day, as teachers, let us doubly remind ourselves even more about the inherent accountability that we have to render towards our noble profession. The goal of higher education in our country is to create skill and knowledge and awareness of our national heritage and the achievements of human civilization. Possessing a basic scientific outlook and commitment to the ideals of patriotism, democracy, secularism, socialism, and peace, as well as the principles elucidated upon in the preamble to the Constitution of India. Teaching is regarded to be the noblest of all professions in the world, and it has often been said that no one can rise above the level of their teachers. A teacher is regarded to be pleasing, impressive in terms of personality and appearance. It would also require an aspect of refinement, pleasant manners, industry, as well as enthusiasm. The three most important aspects of a teacher are enthusiasm about teaching, enthusiasm about the students, and enthusiasm about the subject matter. A teacher must enjoy teaching. Teachers in our role as educators and professionals in higher education should be aware of the significance of the role and tasks entrusted upon us. We must strive to produce student leaders to the society in all areas with a commitment to the ideals denoted earlier. Teachers must strive for academic excellence and progress in various disciplines. Education, research, and extension must be conducted in conformity with our needs as well as our priorities. As teachers, we must ensure that our best talents make befitting contributions to international endeavor on societal needs. Whoever adopts teaching as a profession assumes the obligation to conduct themselves in accordance with the ideals of the profession. A teacher is constantly under the scrutiny of students and society at large. In this regard, teachers should adhere to the responsible pattern of conduct expected of them by the community, manage their private affairs in a manner consistent with the dignity of the profession, seek to make professional growth through continuous study and research, express free and frank opinion by participation at professional meetings, seminars, conferences towards the contribution of knowledge. Teachers should respect the right and dignity of the student in expressing his or her opinion, deal justly and impartially with students, regardless of their religion, caste, political, social, physical characteristics. Recognize the difference in aptitude among students and strive to meet their individual needs. Inculcate among students scientific outlook and respect for physical labor and ideals of patriotism, democracy, and peace. Be affectionate towards students and not behave in a vindictive manner towards any of them for any reason. Maintain active membership of professional organizations and strive to improve education and the profession through them. Perform their duties in the form of teaching, tutorials, practicals, and seminars conscientiously and also with dedication. Cooperate and assist in carrying out functions that are related to the educational responsibilities of the college and universities in aspects such as appraising applications for admission, advising and counseling students, assisting in the conduct of examinations, supervision, invigilation and evaluation, participate in extension, co-curricular and extracurricular activities, including community service. Teachers should treat other members of the profession in the same manner in which they themselves wish to be treated, speak respectfully of other teachers, and render assistance for professional betterment. Refrain from lodging unsubstantiated allegations against colleagues to higher authorities. Refrain from allowing considerations of caste, creed, religion, race, or sex in their professional behavior. Cooperate in the formulation of policies of the institution by accepting various offices and discharge responsibilities which such offices may demand. Cooperate with the authorities for the betterment of the institutions, keeping in view the interest and dignity of the profession. Teachers should treat supporting staff as colleagues and equal partners. Try to see through teachers' bodies and organizations that institutions maintain contact with the guardians of their students and reports of their performance to the guardians whenever necessary in meetings convened for the purpose for mutual exchange of ideas and for the benefit of the institution. Recognize that education is public service and strive to keep the public informed of the educational programs which are being provided. Work to improve education in the community and strengthen the community's moral and intellectual life. Be aware of social problems and take part in such activities as would be conducive to the progress of the society and the country. Perform the duties of citizenship and participate in community activities and shoulder responsibilities of public offices. Shri APJ Abdul Kalam, an academician who went on to become the 11th President of India, had denoted that, I quote, teaching is a very noble profession that shapes the character, caliber, and future of an individual. If the people remember me as a good teacher, that will be the biggest honor for me. He also stated, the purpose of education is to make good human beings with skill and expertise. Enlightened human beings can be created by teachers, unquote. Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, had said, and I quote, a university stands for humanism, for tolerance, for reason, for the adventure of ideas, and for the search of truth. It stands for the onward march of the human race towards ever higher objectives. If the universities discharge their duties adequately, then it is well with the nation and the people, unquote. Teachers are the cornerstone of the university. May this day serve as a reminder to reassert the ethics that behooves this noble profession. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Margaret L. Pachuo, and clearly highlighting the role and responsibility of a teacher. But please be online. I think we just heard from there's a Gabriel, and we just heard from Gabriel like expectation of a teachers like. So if Professor Margaret Pachuo would like to respond on what Gabriel has mentioned about, especially on this communication skill and the teaching, the methodology of teachers in respect to the Mizoram University. So Professor Margaret, would you like to highlight some point regarding the communication skill and the methodology that we adopted over here as a whole in the university? Would you like to say something regarding that one?
Very briefly, sir, thank you.
Okay.
And thank you also to the two students. With regards to the aspect of communication skills, I think it is has been well addressed by Xavier himself out over here. And I think it is something that we are all, in a way, coping with, in a way also learning. Both Xavier and Gabriel made very, very fine points out over here. And and it's very, very well taken. Communication skills in my slides also I had denoted communication skills for the teachers, and also that the aspect of communication basically has to start with listening first, because you cannot just keep trusting your points also on the students. And similarly also, after the communication skills has been adapted, and you'll have both said, rightly said, that each student, each scholar is very, very different, then only the research methodology or the methodologies for whatever subject, whatever disciplines that we are doing will fall into place. I think we're all coming across to that very, very well. And it's something that can never stop and something that will continue. You all have rightly pointed out that this is an age of technology. We're all learning out over here, and we're hoping that these skills will always fall in place when we are teaching. As teachers also, we have to be extremely teachable. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for that response. And yeah, Gabriel and even Xavier, they highlighted about the activities not only confined to the academic field. I think, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, fine. Yeah, I think our Vice Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, would like to have a response on that regarding the activities of the teachers within and outside the academic fields or in that particular point. So if you have anything to say, because we still have 2-3 more times here, just before we conclude this very session.
So it is very important that the teacher's responsibility first to help our students and the teachers community, very important thing. But after the university hours, they can always engage in other social activities and community activities. That is always welcome point. And we are also thinking of helping the students, particularly we are waiting for the examinations to be completed. I wanted to start the teachers staff to be engaged in giving coaching for the civil services examination and other competitive examination, communicative skills. And we are almost ready with the year-long civil service coaching to be started by Mizoram University, by the faculty of Mizoram University. We are just waiting for the examinations to be completed, and within 15 days time, we are going to start the civil services coaching. That Mizoram is once upon a time very well known in the whole country, in the top 2-3 positions that giving maximum number of civil services officers. But unfortunately, in the last 5 years, not even single candidate is also getting successful in getting civil services. This is what actually I emphasizing with all my colleagues in university, and few teachers came forward to help in this particular process. And we are not going to give any charges or any payment remuneration to the teachers of the university. We are going to teach online coaching for all the students for civil service examination without taking any remuneration. We are coming forward. This is welcome. This is one particular point that we should appreciate and salute our teachers, that for the benefit of the students and community, society, not only our university, even outside students also can join in the civil services coaching. This is what actually we intend to do, society training and also societal help by our Mizoram University teachers. And every day it will be planned in such a way that it is not exactly scheduled, but maybe 4 to 6 or 7 to 9 in the evening, we are planning to have civil service coaching to students of Mizoram. This is what actually, at least our target is that at least by next year, 20 students should get, minimum 20 students should get civil service collection in the next year. This is what we are targeting. And our teachers are forward. This is a welcome point that all the teachers are coming forward to help in this particular aspect. And also, in many aspects, the rural development and community societal development, and also the various training programs, our teachers are involved in that. So this is along with the teaching, they are also involved very much, and we appreciate this particular approach of the teachers in helping the community and society in a appreciable manner. So in future, we will do this kind of things. Communicative, madam has already mentioned that the communicative skills are very important for the children. So that also we can plan in online, because online has given a big boom for me, that I don't need to depend on the classrooms now. Online civil service coaching is also online. I'm going to implement the civil service coaching online, and even communicative skills also I will plan next time through online. So this has given so much of avenues for me to invite people from. This is the only university in the country. More than 200 webinars are organized in the last 3 months, and out of 200 people, 150 people are from abroad. So in the normal conditions, we cannot invite anyone with expenditure of travel and everything, stay and everything. But now, today also at 11 o'clock, we got one National University Singapore professor has given a lecture. And like that, we are getting many people from the world renowned, including Nobel laureates. They are coming forward to help us. This is one of the welcome features that particularly this during the COVID time, we got a big more avenues for helping our children. Definitely, we will give the best education than any other university in the country. I am very much sure, with the help of our teachers, we are going to give the best education for our students very soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for your response in regards to the involvement of the teachers. So within and outside the academic field and these kind of things. And not only that, sir, So as you have mentioned that, so your concern and efforts for the growth of, especially to this Mizoram University, so particularly, but as a whole in the country in higher education, it is really, really appreciated. So thank you so much. And so the first session, so it is going to over now. So thank you so much, the participants, especially our panelists, our speakers, Professor Margaret L. Pachuo, for highlighting a very pinpoint role and responsibility of a teacher. And so I thank Xavier, our President, Student Council, for like this mentioning, appreciating the hard work of the teachers. So thank you so much, and your concern for the growth and the welfare of Mizoram University, especially about the teachers. And I thank this Gabriel for highlighting your expectation of a teacher, your expectation of a good teacher, I should say, a good teacher. So I think we will be put on record that the five quality that the student expected. So this is very, very important. And then I thank all the panelists, and I thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor and the Provisy for attending, and all the participants for attending this very important, that is a celebration of a Teachers' Day. So the session will be keep on continuing, but I just now handed over the next session to our session moderator, Professor J.K. Patnaik.
Yes, yes.
A time is given to you now. So my time is over now. So the second session. So you just please carry on. Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So let us start. When Professor Prasai will join. Professor R.P. Tiwari, namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, Dr. Namaskar.
It is my pride privilege to host and be moderator for this wonderful seminar or webinar on the theme of new education policy. We have got actually two distinguished speakers this afternoon, Professor R.P. Tiwari and Professor G.S. Prasai. Professor Prasai will join later because of some engagement. Maybe is delayed. He may join soon. In the meanwhile, let me first of all introduce Professor R.P. Tiwari, a distinguished academician and an administrator. I have known Professor Tiwari since 2004. That is rather my privilege to know him since 2004. His contribution to the field of science has been enormous, and he had at one point of time the highest number of projects in the Northeast, and as well as a comparable chunk he had at the national level also in terms of owning projects. He had a number of publications to his credit. Before he became Vice Chancellor of Central University, Punjab, he was also Vice Chancellor of Dr. H.S. Gaur University in Sagar. And prior to that also, he was in administrative capacities, various administrative capacities in Mizoram University. He was the finance officer over here, and briefly also he had a stint as a registrar. He had held numerous academic positions, as well as, and he was a dean for a quite long time in different schools in Mizoram University. He had also had chaired almost all important committees in Mizoram University, because I know him personally when he was in Mizoram. And his contribution to Mizoram University was enormous. And in fact, he was one of the chief contributors for the stage which we have reached in Mizoram University in terms of his administrative acumen and skills and his capability in bringing out the best amongst his colleagues and amongst his students. So academically, administratively, Professor Tiwari is a man to be reckoned with, and we really appreciate his contribution. At least I am very selfish from the point of view that he has helped us in Mizoram University to grow to this height, to reach to this height. One thing I want to mention also, very important position, that he has been a member of this University Grants Commission. He has been member in various search committees for vice chancellors, and he has held many important committees at the national level. Of course, I don't know whether he had also some stint in the national education policy, not this group, but the earlier group might be, he had contributed also. So I can go on, reading out the list before you, but I don't want to waste your time because we are eagerly waiting. And one thing I want to tell Professor Tiwari, I saw your article in the newspaper, national newspaper. I read it. I enjoyed it. I know that how serious you're about in implementing this national education policy, and how you have mentioned in that article that India should emerge as a Biswaguru. So I really liked that. Aside from my personal appreciation, there is also appreciation from our Vice Chancellor, Professor K.R. Sambasiva Rao, and all our colleagues over here in Mizoram University. Always remember your contribution to Mizoram University. We really appreciate that you have accepted our invitation to be part of this webinar. And I think most probably after 5 years, you have agreed to be part of Mizoram University academic exercise, although you had come once for attending some science seminar. But I really hope that you will enlighten us with your experience and acumen, and also analyze the national education policy so as to make us understand regarding the path, how to implement it in the next few years. So thank you very much. I welcome Professor Tiwari, and the mic is yours. Please, Professor Tiwari.
Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mizoram University, including my own Vice Chancellor, Professor Rao, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, and my very good friend, Professor J.K. Patnaik, all esteemed faculty members of Mizoram University, and my co-panelist, Professor Patsain. My very warm greetings to all of you on this auspicious day of Teachers' Day. Let me first thank Professor Patnaik for being very generous on me and speaking so many good things about me, my achievements and all. But as I have been admitting again and again, today also I'll admit that what I am today is because of Mizoram University and because of the good faculty of Mizoram University, because of teachers, my friends like Professor Patnaik, Professor Maggie, Professor Rampal Vadhera, and many others who have always given me chance and who have always extended their best support and cooperation to me. And it is because of this only that whatever I could contribute for Mizoram University, I was able to do. So in fact, the credit goes to all of you.
Muted.
I was just 24 years old and I landed in Aizawl. And what I am today, I would like to admit openly today that when I reached there, I was just having a PhD, a post-graduate degree. And whatever I achieved in my profession, in my academic life, everything I have achieved in Mizoram University, in Pachunga University College, as well as the best part of my life, the best part of my professional life, I can say that I spent in Aizawl, in Mizoram, in Pachunga University College and in Mizoram University. Though I have completed my first term as Vice Chancellor in Dr. Hari Singh University, and now with the blessing of God, with the blessing of Lalpa, I have gotten the chance here to serve the Central University of Punjab at Bhatinda. So this is all, the goodwill of my friends in Mizoram University that I'm able to serve the higher education system of the country. And I assure all of you that I will try my best to serve in the best possible manner, to contribute in the best possible manner. And also, I assure all of you that I will not do anything which brings defame to my colleagues and to Mizoram University. This national education policy, though when it was envisaged, the name was New Education Policy, but now it is actually National Education Policy. And the paradigm shift change that has happened in the nomenclature of the ministry, our regulatory ministry, that is Ministry of Education. Earlier, we all know that in 86 probably, prior to 86, it was known as Ministry of Education. Then in 1986, when late Sri Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister, that time it was renamed, rechristened as Ministry of Human Resource Development. And now it is back again to Education, Ministry of Education. The basic philosophy why this name is given is because it has to do something with the education. The name Human Resource Development Ministry, MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource Development. There, the basic premise is that human or man is a resource, which is not true. Man cannot be a resource. Man is source. Every part of the body of man is source. For example, eye and specs. We all know that if I become blind, no spec will work. So eyes are the source, and specs, they just magnify. If the vision becomes blurred or vision becomes low, then this specs improve the vision. So specs is resource and eye is source. Likewise, now I'm speaking here, and the voice is magnified, particularly when we speak in front of mic. So mic alone cannot work unless the vocal cord is good, and if person is able to speak, then only mic will amplify the voice. But mic alone cannot work. Therefore, mic is resource and the throat is source. So you can draw parallel like this of any part of human body. So basically, man is source. Therefore, working on the philosophy that man is resource and it needs to be developed, that itself, in my opinion, is not very good premise. Therefore, the renaming of MHRD as Ministry of Education, in my opinion, is very appropriate, because this helps us to think, and the real meaning of education. In the ancient past, we had a well-established system of education in our country that was known world over, and apart from educating Indian citizens, our education system was also catering to the educational needs of several other countries, and the people from different parts of the world, they came and they got education in our ancient education system. It was very rich education system, and I will now draw the parallel between the curricular reforms that are envisaged in the national education policy, the pedagogical reforms, and evaluation reforms, alongside the emphasis on skill development programs, on vocational courses, on experiential learning, and on personalized learning, which are the latest format of education, and also two most important reforms that are necessary in the Indian education system, that are on-demand education and also open book examination. These two are necessary and these are happening. See, the problem here in our country is some reforms, when introduced in the Western education system, after a decade, we import it in our country, and when we implement that, by that time, another wave of reforms is introduced in the Western education system. So currently, in ancient India, in the field of education, we were known as Vishwaguru, the leader of the world in field of education, and now we are simply copying the models of education that are invented and implemented in Western countries. There's a lot of, even in this national education policy, there's a lot of Western reforms that have really done wonder in the Western countries. There are a lot of papers. You know that our great Saint Swami Vivekananda, our former President Abdul Kalam, they very lucidly defined the very purpose of education. Why should we educate our youth? Why should we increase gross enrollment ratio? Why should we bring almost all eligible persons in the fold of education? And if we see that the philosophical foundation of the very purpose of education, then we find that education is one that brings all-round development, holistic personality development. And here, the holistic personality development meant, in addition to the hard skills that our youth acquire from learning three to four disciplines in the undergraduate level, and then coming to post-graduate level and specializing in a discipline, this can be considered as a core, hard skill. So, discipline-specific knowledge that youth acquire comes under the arena of our hard skills. Now, 40, 50 years ago, hard skills was enough, just enough, and youth used to get jobs in different sectors. Now that is not the case. If we take the total, education system that student has to undergo, then learning of hard skills is not more than 50%. The remaining 50% is the soft skills. Here, soft skills we can divide into two. Soft skills of co-scholastic nature and soft skills of non-scholastic nature. Scholastic skills are the discipline specific. Co-scholastic are those which help us to understand, to assimilate, to analyze, to synthesize, to infer, and to create knowledge, what is envisaged in Bloom's taxonomy. If you see Bloom's taxonomy, Bloom's defines 6 levels of learning. The first level of learning is passing out of information. And the highest level of learning is creation of knowledge. That is the ultimate. And education is complete only when every stakeholder of the education system is able to create new knowledge. New knowledge does not necessarily mean in terms of research, in terms of soft skills, in terms of life skills, in terms of challenges that man faces in his or her life and negotiates with those difficult situations and come out with flying colors. So Bloom's taxonomy, I think, in my opinion, every one of us, all stakeholders, the parents, the teachers, and the students alike, along with administration, we have to understand what is Bloom taxonomy, what is philosophy, what is the intent of different levels of learning stipulated in Bloom's taxonomy. And then only we can really be the teacher like what our Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan was, on whose honor we celebrate this 5th September as the Teachers' Day. So soft skills are much more important. Another, point I would like to draw here immediately, otherwise I will be late and, towards the end, that may not really fit into the scheme of things that I would like to present before you. The most critical thing today is that our students, hello, can you listen me please? Am I audible?
Sir, yeah.
Yes,
you are
sir.
audible. Yes.
Yes, sir.
You see, our students, particularly those who are in the schools, their future is highly uncertain. Why? Because neither we, the teachers, we know what type of skills they would be requiring to perform the jobs that would be available after 20 years, after 25 years to them. We don't know, even they don't know. Since we don't know and we can't expect students to know what are the skills that they should develop now, and those skills will be helpful to them to perform jobs that would be available after 2 decades. So then how to train our students, how to mentor our students? This is very big question. We do not know what type of job they would be required to perform when they enter the job market down the line after 20 years, 25 years. So how can we train them? This is a very big question, very serious question. But yet we have to train them. So how should we train them? See, and that is what is the core philosophy of learning in national education policy. The core philosophy is not to select some topics, organize them in 5 units, and teach them. Pool Aldundaga, my very good friend, since last two decades and a half, his natural resource management, his area is. Now, the quantum of knowledge that is available in his discipline, or for that matter in my discipline, see how much we teach them joining together, combining together in the UG and PG courses. Not more than 30 to 40%. That means we are teaching them only 30 to 40% of the knowledge that is available in each of the disciplines. So what about the remaining quantum of knowledge that is available? If we only teach them, and if they learn only what we teach them, then how they will be able to learn which we have not taught them? This is a very basic question. So how to resolve this issue? This issue can be resolved, and that is the core philosophy of this national education policy, is that we should not only teach them certain topics, but we should train them as to how to learn. If we can develop this capability in our students as to how to learn, then they can learn themselves. They can face any challenge in life. They can negotiate with any difficult situation in life, and they can come out successfully, and then only they will be able to negotiate with the skills. They will be able to develop skills in themselves, what they need to perform jobs at different period of time. This is very important. For example, 20-25 years ago, we never thought that we would be having webinar like this in virtual mode. But now we are required to do that. So, that means new technology will come, new will come. So, and we have to know those concepts. So, if we have that bent of mind as to learn new things on ourselves, on our own, if this capability is developed in the youth, then they can be really successful in life. And in my opinion, teachers' endeavor should be this only. Now, another very important aspect of new education policy is, currently, majority of the students, they consider or they view education as some sort of burden. It is, they don't enjoy really learning. How to make this learning enjoyable to them? We know that our youth now, they are much more comfortable in screens. Screen learning is the best possible mode of learning now for the students. They learn things through screen, whether it is computer or cell phone, laptop, or the film screen or anything. So they are now addicted for screen learning. And the challenge before us, the teachers, is how to capitalize on this strength and convert screen learning as a skill in them for learning other than what is available in the screen. So this we should capitalize on them, and that is why in national education policy, blended mode of learning is proposed. Both blend of offline learning and online learning, both, because students now, they are migrating from learning within the four-wall situation to open environment through screens, through ICT. So integration of ICT with traditional mode of learning, what we call it offline learning, is the necessity of the hour, and that is what is envisaged in the national education policy. And that is why now MHRD and also University Grants Commission are devising mechanism for availability of online courses. Now, for example, in EPG Pathshala, around 700 courses are available, covering almost all disciplines of science, social sciences, humanities, languages, as well as our engineering also. Now, and we don't know how long we have to continue with online learning. So this, if we can map these courses, keeping in view our syllabus, and then we can develop these in a learning platform which has been developed by Inculcate Ahmedabad. They call it learning management system. If we can customize, map these courses, what are the different courses that are useful for, say, for example, students of Mizoram University, and those courses can be developed, customized in the learning management system, then online teaching can be much more effective, much more systematic, and that is why many central universities have done this. So, now, there are several good things in the national education policy. I'll not talk about all those things. I'll talk about as to how to implement now, because the onus of implementing national education policy is on us, on the teachers, on the administration. Administration has to play proactive role of a facilitator, so that teachers can really first understand the different, new paradigms, new imperatives that have been proposed in the national education policy. They have to first understand not only content wise but also intent wise, and then to implement it. So for this, seminar like this is really very meaningful, because first we have to train our students. As far as training of students is concerned, in new education, national education policy, there is a separate chapter on teachers' education, because the curricular reforms, the quantum of curricular reforms, pedagogical reforms, evaluation reforms that are stipulated in national education policy have to be really understood first by the teachers themselves. Then only it can be implemented, and then only the benefit of this can be given, can be handed over to our youth, and then only our youth can contribute for the growth of the society and the growth of the nation. Coming back to how to make education enjoyable, so that our youth do not take education as a burden, as a burdensome exercise, but as the exercise through which they can derive pleasure, they can derive joy. One is, we have to have blended learning, as I said earlier. Another thing is that we have to teach with lot of experiences, what we call it experiential learning, learning by doing. When we were stepping into 21st century, then UNESCO, we all know it is body of UNO, United Nations Organization, they constituted a committee to work to develop a project for the project of education which will be relevant for the 21st century. And Mr. Fowler was the chairman of this committee. And the silent feature of that recommendation, I'll tell, it is voluminous report. The gist of that recommendation is that education, there are 4 pillars of education. Education rests, education system of any society, of any country rests on 4 pillars. And these 4 pillars had to be made very strong. And these 4 pillars had to be made workable. And these 4 pillars are not isolated, they are interconnected. These 4 pillars are, one is learning to know. This is, yes, classroom teaching. Learning to do. Whatever you have learned, whatever you have listened, what concept model you have listened from the teacher, you should be able to replicate it. You should be able to actually do it. And psychologists and other educationists, n number of studies have been conducted, and it has been, now it is well established fact that the exercise or the topic or any new thing, if it is learned through by doing, learning by doing, then retention of that knowledge in the human mind is much more longer, and also recall from the memory is much more faster as compared to things which are learned just by listening. So learning by doing, and this is the core philosophy of our, this is another core philosophy of our national education policy, learning by doing. And third pillar is learning to be what we have learned, that we have to imbibe onto ourselves, that we have to practice in our real life situation. So whatever knowledge is gained, that we have to, that knowledge we should apply on ourselves. And then only, the benefit of that knowledge can go to the society and also in nation building. And the last pillar is learning to be, learning to live together. This is the fourth pillar, learning to live together. And this is the ultimate of learning. When we can learn to live in spite of all difference of opinions, in spite of all diversity in our thought process, in our food habit, in our dress, in our dwellings, and in our culture. In spite of all those differences, if education can help us, can teach us to live together peacefully, so that is the ultimate goal of education. And new education, national education policy, different imperatives in national education policy are introduced, are proposed to be implemented to achieve this very final goal of education, that is learning to live together. And at the same time, how to engage each one of you. There's a lot of many imperatives which ensure, right from school education up to the higher education, several new paradigms are introduced which ensure equity, access, and social harmony, and taking care of all sections of the Indian societies. So this is another very good thing. And there is, target to achieve 50% gross enrollment ratio. We will be still lagging behind with several countries. For example, in United States, gross enrollment ratio is 70% now. And after 2040, our national education policy aims at achieving 50% gross enrollment ratio by 2040. And by that time, America will march ahead. They may achieve 100% gross enrollment ratio. So we'll be still lagging behind. But, currently, in spite of all our efforts, in spite of all our, efforts for expansion of knowledge, access of knowledge, and equity, we have achieved thus far only 25% of gross enrollment ratio. Therefore, the basic aim and the new parameters will certainly ensure our target of reaching 50% gross enrollment ratio by 2040. Now, see, the beauty of this national education policy is, alongside hard skills, there is a scope for every student to learn some additional skills which are really called as life skills. Because in ancient India, and even now, in Mizoram, how the best thing I quote here also, when I try to make my point forcefully and more in the most convincing manner, then I say that our Mizo society is basically, they learn through experiential learning in much more better way, and they believe in learning by doing. And there are several skills that the youth of other parts of the country need to be developed in the youth of other parts of the country. Those life skills, survival skills, these are excellent in our Mizo society. So, from this local experiences, there is a lot of scope that we should implement the potentials that are available in different societies in the country. Skills which are required for meaningful life in different regions of the country. You see, the skills, it has not been protocoled that you teach this skills or that skills or that skills. Like, skills which are relevant in local situation. And that is what our Honorable Prime Minister has said, vocal for local. And that is the beauty, that whatever skill is required in the youth of Mizoram to lead meaningful life in Mizoram, those skills should be taught to students of Mizoram. Whatever skill is required in Punjab, that should be taught to the students of this. And even cross-cultural relationship, because now there's a lot of scope for internationalization of education in the national education policy. So, all these things put together, I'll not take much point because we have to listen to another, very eminent educationist of our country, Professor Parsain. I'll not take much time, but
no, sir,
what
please
I'd
go
like
ahead.
to emphasize is that each one of us has to read national education policy, need to understand its content, need to organize several workshops, webinars, and discussion forums where the new imperatives of national education policy can be understood in the right context with right intentions, and then to implement those and train our youth accordingly so that we can really make them contributor to our economy, to our knowledge base, and to re-establish our nation's position as a global leader in the field of education, and to serve the humanity. Our civilization discourse, our human evolving civilization never cared only for ourselves. We cared for the whole humanity. And that is why, in our ancient India, the concept was the whole earth is one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And we always prayed for happiness for well-being of every member of the human society. Not only Indian society, every member of the human society. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya. This is our civilizational discourse. And this can happen when we can make ourselves happy, ourselves self-sufficient, self-reliant, and this way only we can really make our education system much more meaningful, much more timely, much more relevant, and evolving in nature. The changes, any system, if it is not dynamic, if it is not evolving, and if it cannot incorporate the changes that are happening in the world around, then that system becomes stagnated, and that system does not serve the purpose of the society. Therefore, let us make our education system dynamic, evolving, and absorbing in nature, and incorporating all the changes that are required to be done, because our other philosophy is let the knowledge come from everywhere. Our doors, our minds, the windows of our minds should be open for receiving knowledge that may come from any direction from the earth. So with these few words, I would like to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rao Sahab, my friend Professor Patnaik, Professor our staff, Professor Lanundanga, and all my friends from Mizoram University for giving me a chance to put forth some of my views on national education policy. It was really wonderful. I see many faces which I have not seen for the 2-3 years. I see very smiling face of Professor Patnaik. My compliments to you and all other my friends from Mizoram University. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your indulgence with Mizoram University, and that has been the excellent and the most comprehensive kind of presentation on the new education policy. In fact, whatever you have said is very much important from the point of view of the 21st century, the century where we are now faced with so much of challenge, externally as well as domestically, and particularly during this pandemic time when we have the difficulties in all fronts. The only thing that can bail us out from these difficult times is having a good education system, and the new education policy that we are going to have in the years ahead, which is of course a vision document. It's a long-term vision, and also there are many issues that need to be worked out as we understand. And the ultimate objective of this national education policy is to how to bring about a transformation, a wholesale transformation in the society, economy and polity of India, and how India has to bounce back to regain its lost glory of the ancient times, because India was exploited, India was targeted for several centuries, and we were made to think differently. We did not have the opportunity to think independently. And for the last 70 years, we've been struggling, after having got independence also, struggling to have an appropriate kind of system of education, where we, being Indians, at one point of time, where the world leaders were not in a position to do anything. And now it is an opportune time for us to tread the path, to choose the line, the route, wherein again we can bounce back and regain our glory. You have rightly said, sir, it is a really paradigm shift in the thinking among the political leaders, among the academic leaders, to bring about this kind of vision document. I'm sure this document is going to be a document which can have an enduring value. It can also be an appropriate mechanism to transform the dynamics of the Indian society. As you have rightly said, sir, the 4 pillars of education and the methods of learning, these things need to be given serious thought, because whatever the kind of rote learning we have been doing on the basis of the Macaulay system of education that was given during the colonial times, and also during the following the independence, of course, other committees that they submitted the documents on education policy that were kind of an extension of this Macaulay system of education. And I hope this paradigm shift will definitely render a different kind of trajectory in our national building process, because India is still in the process of building its national structure. And we are also in the process of integrating. The process of integration is still ongoing. And there is a process of adaptation. The process of adaptation is also getting complicated. It's a large, diverse, huge society having so much of complexities. And as I've already said, there are challenges, and these challenges have to be faced with so much of dauntlessness. And also for this, we have to equip ourselves with skills, because India is one of the biggest countries in terms of population. And as you have rightly said, sir, that GER, the gross enrollment ratio, is a very low. Of course, during these 5-7 years, we have witnessed there is a significant jump in the GER, but we still have to have more to compete with other countries in the world. As you rightly said, when we have targeted for 50% of GER, at that time America may reach 100% of GER. So it's going to be very difficult for us unless we, from now on, buckle up ourselves and put some strategies. And this vision document is going to help us to put some mechanisms, some strategies. There is a radical change in the system of 4 plus 5 plus 3 plus 5, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. There is also, in the regulatory mechanism, there is a transformation. There are so many aspects. The wholesale transformation that's going to come up in the next decade, I would say. In a decade or two, So it's going to be very wonderful society that we are going to, and it's also a challenge to develop a wonderful society matching with the international society or international system. So Professor Tiwari has been, very kind, and I immensely appreciate, and we are thankful to him for enlightening us with his wonderful anecdotes also in the beginning. So I really appreciate, sir. Thank you very much. Now I would I would like to know rather if Professor Prasai is around. Has he joined? If sir, if you're around, please raise your hand, or please come to the panel. Professor Prasai.
He can put some work in the chat also.
Yeah, sir, you can put something in the chat also. We're not able to locate him in the participant thing. Maybe he's still engaged with the education minister over there. In the meanwhile, I would request my colleague to speak a few words on the national education policy. My colleague, Dr. L.S. Sarma, is a professor of management. He was also head of the department. He's one of the senior most professors in the university. And I would like to request Professor Sharma to give his viewpoint on the national education policy. Professor Sharma, please.
Good afternoon, distinguished panel members. First of all, with the permission of the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor K.R. Sambasiva Rao, Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Patnaik, and Registrar of the University, and my dear colleagues. Today, my talk is going to be a little bit divergent from the new education policy, but it is going to be new education policy with the discipline of management education. So what the management education, there may be some, what kind of changes there we're expecting and so on. That is what I want to focus on. And I just want to highlight a little bit of what has been going on in management education. The management education in India started off with the education, the establishment of this discipline in 1955 in the University of Delhi, Madras, and Mumbai. And this was followed by the setting up of Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata in 1961, followed by the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad in 1962, and other management institutes in 1970 and so on. And the IIMs became the benchmark of the management education in India. During the 1970s and 80s, most of the universities also started establishing management departments, and the liberalization of 1990s gave boost to management education. And as the growth of the economy demanded several management professionals. In 1991, the number of institutes offering MBA education, there were only 130 with an annual intake of around 12,000 students. In 2009, there were 1,608 institutes offering MBA programs and 391 institutes offering PGDM programs. And now the country, more than 400 institutes are offering MBA degrees with an intake of 150,000 students. Currently, India is one of the countries in the world which has one of the highest number of institutes offering MBA program. So behind the background of this, let us go back into the National Education Policy 2020. So let us look into what are the changes that has been already proposed. There is a paradigm shift from 10+2 system to 5+3+3+4. And this is trying to bring in the children between the age group 3 to 5 years within the ambit of formal education. Secondly, there is going to be a common regulatory body for the entire education system. And thirdly, of course, the focus is going to be totally on vocational education and digital drive. And of course, it is also going to focus on innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. So the major changes in the environment of management education is going to be on 2 points. That is, the NEP 2020 is going to allow the top foreign universities to set up campus in India. So for example, we may have Harvard Business School, which may come to Northeast India. For example, it may set up an institute in Guwahati. And the second aspect is that the policy is also going to allow the Indian universities to set up institutes in foreign countries. For example, the IIM may have branches or campuses in Africa or in other countries also. So looking behind these scenarios, let us look into the way how we can take forward the management education in India. As Professor R.P. Tiwari has talked about the 4 pillars, what I believe is on the 3 pillars. These 3 pillars are also quite similar, and the pillars that I'm talking about are teaching, learning, and assessment. We generally call it as LTA. And these pillars are linked into one another, and if any one of them is missing, we have a major problem. So let me try to look into on the basis of these pillars. The first pillar that I'm going to take up about is the teaching. The management education, as we have been looking forward, as we have been considering it, is a professional education. So considering the fact that business is a profession and it is similar to law and medicine, business schools are also the main professional schools. So like other professions, business education also calls upon the work of many academic disciplines. For example, medicine includes biology, chemistry, and psychology. And for business education, it includes disciplines like mathematics, economics, psychology, philosophy, and sociology. So the distinction between a professional education and academic discipline is crucial, and it needs to be understood. So before asking how business schools should change, we need to examine its evolution. Most of the business schools claim to have a dual mission. 1, to educate practitioners, and 2, to create knowledge through research. But the question is the management education facing an existential crisis right now? It does not mean that the enrollments are down and the placements are not taking place, but deep down inside, something seems to be going wrong or something seems to be amiss. So first of all, let us look into what are the components of this. Let us look into the curriculums which are being taught in these institutes. These curriculums are developed by faculty who are more focused on research oriented. I do not mean to say that these professors are incompetent, but they are very good researchers who can collect facts and data. But what the professors study and the way how they read, the way how they direct, it affects the education system of MBA candidates. As the research-oriented business professors come to dominate the business school faculties, they assume the responsibility of setting up the MBA curriculum. These professors are brilliant, as I've said earlier, are very good data collectors, but despite their high level of competence, they require dealing with the multidisciplinary issues that in the classroom sometimes requires more subjectively than analyzing multifaceted questions of policy and strategy, and or sometimes examining cases that require judgment based on wisdom and experience, in addition to sometimes analyzing the isolated facts. So the decision makers and leaders sometimes do not have to depend on these facts all the time. Sometimes they have to rely on to make decisions on the basis of data collected from unknown environments, which needs more than just fact collection. So in a way, this is the way how the leaders are also groomed. So the curriculum needs to be from the perspectives of practitioners rather than from the perspectives of scientific research. So in today's environment, we may even have a professor who has been judged on the basis of number of papers which are being published, but who has never set a foot in the factory or in a real business environment setting curriculum for the students. So there may be certain drawbacks behind this. Secondly, the pedagogy which is being followed in most of these institutes seem to be struck in the U shape, the pit of Harvard, or even just the form of mass production system of classroom lectures with little innovations in teaching. So the concept of leadership being taught in a PowerPoint slide presentation or relating to the novel of War and Peace, diverging into the characteristics of leadership will have a vast difference in understanding the topic of leadership. As the focus of New Education Policy 2020 is on vocation, learning by doing, as already mentioned by Professor R.P. Tiwari, should be the motto in business schools. There is possibilities like setting up a company for the business schools, for the groundwork of the students, or projects like running the college canteen by the students of the management, etc. should be the learning pedagogy. After all, should I trust a surgeon who has never done an operation to operate on me? The second pillar that I want to talk about is the learning pillar. The new education policy has laid down the emphasis to reduce the rote learning, which is very, very popular in India. Management education, as mentioned earlier, is about the ability to profess in the concerned discipline. When you tell, I forget. When you show, I remember. When I do, I understand. So this philosophy of system needs to be inculcated in the management education. So our management education has been primarily focused on telling, and this leads to rote learning, which remains only for a certain period of time, and understanding of the learning and its application is lost with after some point of time. So most of the students learning are also linked into the scientific research which has been focused on. Scientific research, when applied to business, essentially when a human being makes a judgment on the environment of messy, incomplete, and incoherent data, sometimes statistics and methodological wizardry can become a blind rather than illuminate the situation. So for example, consider some of the situations where most of the difficult questions which are faced by the managers. So for example, a question like, how does a culture of celebrity affect leadership? How should a chief executive officer should be compensated? How does one design global operations so that they are effective and equitable? What is the purpose of corporation beyond the creation of shareholder value? So all these multifaceted questions cannot be answered by rote learning and scientific research. The third aspect of education, the third pillar that I'm going to talk about is the assessment. The third pillar that we have been using has been only one-sided. That is, it is only the teachers who has done the assessment of the student. This has not given the chance for the learner whether how much progress has he or she has made. The new education policy 2020 has brought in assessment from several directions, not from the faculty's perspective, but also from the perspective of the learners and from the others, including friends and parents. So this has paved the way for a 360-degree assessment or to introspect. This also has brought about, particularly for the student, to introspect or to reflect by the learner to understand what he or she has so far made, some kind of progress that he has made. So this has also given a time to re-examine himself or herself. So I believe this aspect of assessment will give the impetus to the development of creative thinking and innovations, and it also will bring about several developmental ideas. There is also a need to shift from the traditional form of examination which supports rote learning. Answering to a set of questions in a fixed period of time is a product of factory line production of mode assessment. So several forms of assessments may be explored in the later phases. Lastly, I strongly feel that education without the contribution to the society where we live is education without ethics. So the concept of ethics in the classroom mode is not going to build the characteristics of the management graduates. So as a part of way forward, certain projects or activities should be carried out by the students for the development of the society, maybe near the campus or in a far off village in another place. So business education nowadays has also become overwhelmingly dependent on technical training, but it is also ironic that even before Enron, the Enron problem, the study shows that the executives who may fail financially or as well as morally, they do so not from the lack of expertise. They fail because they lack interpersonal skills or the practical wisdom, what Aristotle called as prudence. This aspect has been already explored by Professor R.P. Tiwari, talking about the soft skills. So the soft skills also plays a very important aspect of the new education policy. Now, how do we look way forward from this? Way forward is that we have to, the management education need to look into itself as a profession, and as a profession, it needs to look into the 4 key elements. The 4 key elements as proposed by Professor Rakesh Khurana of Harvard Business School, I quote, says, an accepted body of knowledge. Secondly, a system of certifying that individuals have mastered that body of knowledge before they are allowed to practice. For example, the Hippocratic oath for the doctors. Then a commitment to the public good, and as well as the 4th point, what we call as an enforceable code of ethics. So we need to focus on these 4 key elements, whether the skills acquired by the students is good for practice, and does the candidate have feelings for public good and ethics. So we also acknowledge that a useful step towards acknowledging that business is a profession would be able to recognize that both imagination and experience are vital and ought to be therefore be the central part of business education. So as per the NEP 2020, professional education is expected to be inclusive, participatory, and holistic approach, which will take into consideration the aspects of field experience, the empirical research, the stakeholder feedback, as well as lessons learned from the practices should be the guidelines and the philosophy to take forward the new education systems. These are the things that I would like to share with the eminent members. Thank you very much for giving me the time.
Thank you very much, Professor Sharma. We really appreciate your contribution to this webinar. We really appreciate your insights that you brought forth into the management education and helped us to understand in the context of the national education policy. Actually, we are looking forward to meeting our the next honorable speaker, who in a meeting. So I'm not sure whether we are going to have him or not. So now I request our Vice Chancellor to speak few words on this important aspect. Thank you, Professor Patnaik, and my colorful registrar, and Professor R.P. Tiwari ji, and other friends. It's a great occasion. Mizoram University has already organized a very big seminar on webinar on national education policy last month, 26th, morning 10 o'clock to evening 5 o'clock. We have organized a very big seminar, and we invited 3 members who are involved in drafting of NEP. And we have been emphasizing that Mizoram University is one university which is ready to implement NEP 2020 as soon as we receive instructions from the Government of India as per the schedule of implementation. As we in total accept the NEP, we welcome it because it has got a very good perspective in bringing the change in the new education system of the country, particularly in improving the skill-based education to the children from the high school itself. And very importantly, it has got so many advantages in emphasizing, particularly in the areas of skill development, entrepreneurship training, and also placement soon after the completion of the course, and also the education system also invited the that is the exchange of institutions between the countries where top 100 universities are actually been ranked in the world ranking to open the campuses in our university, in our country, and also the top 100 universities of our country also been the top selected universities can also open off campuses outside. And internationalization of the education system in India, and digitalization of the education, particularly online coaching and learning system. These are very, very important pertinent issues. And also the implementation of a 3-language system, particularly up to level of 8th school education, the instruction should be continued in the mother language or in the local language, so that the students can have a dominance over the subject and also command over the subject. And thereafter, the 3-language system has to be implemented. And also the English can be also a medium of instruction thereafter. But the 3-language system has to be encouraged, because the national integrity, and the student who goes to other places to get employment or to go for higher studies, it will be more advantageous. So the implementation is one of the roadmap has to be a very important factor, and the roadmap has to be prepared, and this roadmap actually has to be started in such a way that in a successful manner it has to be implemented, because there are so many queries, particularly in the areas where more backward areas, the clustering system and grouping of the institutions, and the multidisciplinary educational institutions starting. All these are very important issues to be addressed, particularly places like Mizoram and Northeast region, where the institutions are not that much having student strength, and the student strength will be in few hundreds only, in between 100 to 300, 400 maximum students, and the
multidisciplinary institutions has been classified in such a way that the number of students is one of the criteria in multidisciplinary institutions. And the special education zone system, which is also been emphasized in the new national education policy, that is also been covering these kind of problems which are being emphasized. And there is no problem because implementation, special education zone will have certain relaxations in implementation of the same. And the roadmap, if it is been prescribed for implementation with a uniform policy in the whole country, the education system, the syllabus, curriculum development, pedagogy, everything has to be implemented uniformly in all the states. Then the student migration from one place to other places will be very easy. And the curriculum development also should not be given independence to other areas. And so the student migration will have a uniformity policy. Then it will be easy for them to have the new education, national education policy will be having advantages. It can be also being covered. And it will be also very good. And we have been emphasizing on this particular aspect that if it has been implemented from the school level, in the initial level itself, and it is go on increasing from school level to higher education level, it will be very easy to implement. But immediately the universities can also implement the system of 4 years bachelor's course, and the entry of the pattern of living in the middle of the bachelor course. First year if they complete and leave, certificate will be issued, and second year if they leave, diploma can be issued, and third year it will be bachelor's degree, and fourth year it will be a research degree. And it can be immediately implemented in all the universities if it is been implemented from the next year onwards. And whatever the decision we take, Mizoram University is one university we will be definitely implementing, and I am making very clear to all in all platforms that Mizoram University can immediately implement this particular NEP in an immediate manner whenever we receive the instructions from the Government of India. And it will be always advisable to go with the initial school level introduction and then slowly going up to the higher education. It will be more advantageous for successful implementation. And gross enrollment ratio improvement also we have been suggesting, and we will be also implementing that increasing of gross enrollment ratio, GR. If the free education has been practiced up to the school level, the GR also can be implemented to 100% implementation. This is one of the criteria we can always emphasize on that. And this will be particularly in the areas where the socio-economic conditions are not that much encouraging. That will be more easy for improving the gross enrollment ratio. And also the multilingual system, and they may be also encouraged by providing some kind of employment preference during the multilingual learning system, and this may be also very advantageous. And online education system is to be encouraged in such a manner because the availability of the teachers and qualified teachers is also going to be an issue in many areas. Online education, if it has been part of the regular education, the students can be provided an opportunity for listening to many people from outside. This is also one of the important area, and this has to be emphasized, particularly in improvement of skill education for the children. So with these issues, the main objective of the NEP is to provide a quality education for the children. The quality education can be provided in such a way that it is implemented, and it has got very good advantages. And since 34 years, the educational system has no changes. Now it is going to be practiced, and it is going to be implemented very soon. And we welcome all of you. We'll welcome this system to be implemented very soon, and we expect very good changes in the education system of our country, and our children can prove in the international scenario that already there have been, India is going to be the superpower in having the most highest number of young talented people in the coming decade. That is going, this NEP will definitely make our children more qualified and also more technically sound and more energetic in education, having strongest base in education, and they will be the superpower in the next coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor sir. Actually, in a nutshell, our Vice Chancellor was able to give you the gist of the new education policy. It's a wonderful presentation, sir. I really appreciate your contribution to this webinar. I would like to request our registrar, Professor Lalundunga, Registrar sir. I think we should wind up the. Yeah, I would like our registrar to sum up and sum up for a while and then propose a formal vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you so much. At the same time, I just would like to apologize that one of our panelists, Professor G.P. Prasing, so who could not make it. So when we talk to him also, he is not very sure about, because he is having a very official engagement with the minister. They're in their own respective places. So because of that, so he could not make it. Anyway, so today's this Teachers' Day celebration, this is very unique this year in spite of this pandemic situation. So we hardly have any kind of this Teachers' Day celebration in the previous years. Many of the teachers, many of the departments, so we spend within the departments. But this year, though, it's quite different. So as we have received a direction from the UGC and MHRD, the Mizoram University is also complying with what we have received a direction from the ministry and authority. So first of all, I'd like to thank there's a Professor R.P. Tiwari, though he's very much a part of this Mizoram University. Anyway, so being a Vice Chancellor of Central University of Punjab, recently he joined. And thank you so much, sir, for sparing your time with this, highlighting what is the national education policy as a whole. So how we can effectively implement this NEP 2020. Thank you so much for your input, sir. So we just noted and recorded that. So for example, like the soft skill, the life skill, and the pillars of educations and different kinds of, that you have mentioned, it is put on record. That I think that was really wonderful. And so we are really thankful, Professor R.P. Tiwari. RP kan lom lu tuke o. So I need to add in Mizo. Yeah, otherwise though it's incomplete. That's why. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us and your valuable expression on this this National Education Policy 2020. So we are really thankful. And I thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Pro Vice Chancellor, and all the participants. Our Vice Chancellor, actually, he's very dynamic in the sense that, so he can fill up any gap, So that this time also filling up the gap. So thank you so much, sir, for your readiness at any time. So he is always available for the university at any time, at any cost. So thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs. And I thank the moderator, Professor J.K. Patnaik, for moderating this very session. That, so I think he might have also some more to say. So that is the thing here. And then I thank all the participants, and especially to the ICT people for arranging this webinar very successful. Thank you all, and thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you.